Movies are kind of my favorite thing in the world. Obviously, I've mentioned several times in my videos that I want to write and direct my own stuff, but the easiest part about it is just knowing what kind of movies I would want to make. I'm a guy who gets inspired easily. My passion always runs wild, and of course I can't just duplicate what's already been done before. But I always sit there after the movie is finished, and I think, that's it. That's the kind of thing I want to make. And no filmmaker has ever made me do that more than Mike Mills. Mike Mills is my second favorite director. With every one of my favorite directors, I'm always entranced by how their signature style is going to play out this time. With Mike Mills, his signature style is just capturing the wholesomeness of everyday life. Every single film he's made has been a love letter to something of sorts, and I always walk out feeling spoken to. I had the opportunity to see him speak at the New York Film Festival, and sadly I wasn't allowed to talk to him, shake his hand, and tell him how much his films mean to me. But just hearing him speak with his calming yet passionate voice was enough for me to be satisfied. His new film is called Come On, Come On, which follows the story of Johnny, who's a radio journalist who takes a trip across the country with his nephew, interviewing kids. And it's not only my favorite movie of the year, it's getting pretty high up on my favorite movies of all time list. I've seen it twice now. The moment it ended when I was at the New York Film Festival, I had a really nice cry. A cry that I didn't know that I needed, but felt so good and warming. It had been a while since I'd been this moved by a movie. Moved in a sense where I couldn't believe the wholesomeness I was experiencing, but it never felt forced upon. It was the kind of moved where I loved what this movie made me feel. From frame one to the last, I was entranced, and by the end, like I said, I was in tears. Not sad tears, but tears of pure wholesomeness. What Come On, Come On does that's so special for me is that it continues that cycle of Mike Mills' films of how beautiful normal life can be, but he never forces it onto you. His movies are always showing you the beauty of normal life, whether it's a reflection of his life or not. But in Come On, Come On, there's a bit of a darker perspective, though the beauty and wholesomeness is still there front and center. The film as a whole is about adult-child relationships, and how younger people have impacted everyday life in the best possible way. But where the darkness comes in is what goes on behind the scenes. Every character isn't really there emotionally. I won't spoil how that is, but the point I was trying to get at is that that dark nature becomes uplifting when everyone reminds each other of the love they share for each other. And it's in such a way that feels incredibly satisfying. There's always something so amazing knowing that someone is there for you even when you feel no one is. And here it's understood to the highest degree. Especially in this day and age, that kind of thing is what people need to hear. And how Come On, Come On presents it isn't in a way where it feels like we've heard it all before. In fact, it's pretty much presented in a way where every character here has such a different viewpoint on the world. But Mills takes the time to develop each character and their point of view and earn their emotional impact. This might sound a little cliche, but I found myself relating to so much of this movie. These characters have said things that I have said before, or wanted to say. These characters have dealt with situations that I've been through, so for that it was so easy for me to connect. It was so easy for me to fall in love. But what I also fell in love with was the black and white cinematography. The black and white didn't feel gimmicky like most films. What I saw felt like a pencil sketch. It added so much innocence and grace to the story of the film to a point where I couldn't look away. Even though the film is in black and white, the entire thing felt highlighted. Like it was giving color and beauty to the littlest things, even if that color had drained out of these characters' lives. So really, what better way than to make it feel like a pencil sketch rather than a painting? You can still give it some kind of connection. You can still give it emotion. And mostly, you can still give it heart. The heart has to be somewhere, and it's clear that Mike Mills knew exactly where to put it. If I had to describe it more, it feels nostalgic in the most comforting way. I could look at this movie for hours and still tear up. But most of all, Come On, Come On feels like a movie that I needed. I connect to these characters on a spiritual level, especially at the time that I saw this. The reason why this means so much to me is because it gave me a substantial amount of hope. But it also helped me realize one thing. If something doesn't feel right, or you're going through a rough patch, it's okay to not feel okay. The world isn't fair, but it's not meant to be. You don't have to focus on the world when you can focus on life. The world might present itself as ugly, but life is so goddamn beautiful. Look at all this life around you. There's so much to experience, and even if you still feel that hopelessness inside you, that's okay too, because one day you'll find it. It takes time, but I believe you'll find it. But for now, it's okay to not be okay. Come On pulled my eyelids open, and I feel like I can finally see again. With this new vision of life, just watching an uncle and nephew go on a road trip across the United States, I felt like I was being invited to try out a new perspective of this truly beautiful life.